I once heard a well known billionaire investor named Warren Buffett say that the toughest money milestone you'll ever hit is your first $100,000. He wasn't the only one saying it either. A lot of people who've successfully built serious wealth all seem to agree on this point, and you hear the same kind of thing when folks talk about earning their very first $1 million. What's interesting is that once you finally cross that $100,000 line, the next chunks of money tend to show up a lot faster. All of a sudden, you're not stuck anymore. Before you even realize what's happening, you've climbed to $200,000, then $300,000, then $400,000. And when you eventually reach that first million, the second million doesn't feel nearly as far away. In fact, it often takes just a fraction of the time compared to the first one. That idea is honestly comforting for people like me who sometimes feel like their money is growing way slower than they'd like. But it also raises an important question. Why does it suddenly get easier? Let's break down why reaching that first $100,000 takes so much longer than everything that comes after it. And I'll also talk about a few things you can do to speed the whole process up so you can start building real wealth years earlier. By the way, my name's Jake, and I spend my time helping regular people understand money, personal finance, and investing. If getting ahead financially matters to you, go ahead and subscribe and hit the like button if this ends up helping you out. One big hurdle a lot of people run into is simply getting started with investing at all. Investing often feels like something that can wait, so it keeps getting pushed further and further down the to-do list. Then one day you wake up and realize you're not getting any younger and you're wondering how retirement is ever supposed to happen. Think about how many people you know who say they'd invest if they just made a little more money. They tell themselves that once their income goes up, then they'll finally start investing. But saying that is kind of like saying you'll throw wood on a fire once the fire starts giving off heat. It doesn't work that way. You don't invest because you already have too much money. You invest because you want to create more of it. Fear is another excuse I see all the time. Most of us know at least one coworker or friend who claims investing is too risky, so they avoid it altogether. Just like with a lot of things in life, that very first step is usually the hardest one to take. When the goal feels so far away, it's easy to keep putting it off until someday. The reality is that reaching your first $100,000 requires a lot of upfront effort. Early on, most of the money in your portfolio has to come directly from your own contributions. But once your investments grow to a meaningful size, compound interest really starts doing the heavy lifting for you. Even though your percentage returns might stay about the same, the actual dollar gains get much bigger. For instance, if you invest $5,000 and earn a 10% return in a year, that's only $500. It barely moves the needle. You could earn $500 just by working a few extra hours here and there, so it doesn't feel all that impressive. Now compare that to a $100,000 investment earning the same 10%. That's $10,000 in a single year, and suddenly you're talking about real money. When your portfolio reaches $1 million, a 10% return turns into $100,000 a year. That's more than many people make at their jobs, and watching your money grow that fast is incredibly motivating. A lot of people say that once their portfolio hits $100,000, they finally start to feel the progress. It's like pushing a snowball downhill. Once it gets moving, it picks up speed fast. As your investments grow larger, the results become more visible, and that feeling of momentum can actually help accelerate your success. Another way to look at it is this. Once the rewards get bigger, you naturally start hunting for ways to grow even faster. You might look for ways to boost your income so you can invest more each month. Or you might spend more time learning how to earn better returns so your money compounds at a higher rate. Suddenly, spending money feels different too. Instead of casually dropping $100 on a meal that's gone in a couple of hours, you pause and think twice. Once you really understand how powerful compound interest is, you start being more intentional with your spending. You realize that the same $100 could keep rewarding you year after year if you invest it, and that makes it a lot harder to give up. If you blow $100 on dinner, that money disappears forever. But if you invest that same $100, it might earn you $10 the first year, $11 the next year, and $12 the year after that. Sure, $100 by itself isn't life changing, but consistently saving $100 in different areas of your life is what really adds up over time. As your net worth grows, your options start expanding, and it becomes obvious pretty quickly. With $100,000 saved, you can do things that someone living paycheck to paycheck simply can't. If a new job opportunity comes along with higher upside but less stability, you actually have the financial cushion to take that chance. Maybe your current job pays $50,000 a year, but you're offered a commission-based role that could pay $100,000 or more. If you depend on that steady paycheck, taking the risk doesn't make sense. Or maybe you've always wanted to start a business but never had the startup money or a safety net to fall back on. That business could potentially make you guys millions, but if you can't even get started, the opportunity disappears. The same thing can happen with real estate. You might come across a property selling well below market value, but it's risky and requires upfront capital. When you've got money saved, taking that kind of calculated risk becomes possible. While it's not always smart to cash out investments, having the option alone puts you in a much stronger position. People with very little savings are far more limited in what they can do. And on top of all that, having more money allows you to take smarter risks with your investments. If you see potential in a stock or opportunity, it's easier to be a bit more aggressive when a single bad investment won't destroy you financially. Ideally, you still have plenty of other investments working for you in the background. Let's say a buddy of mine comes to me with a chance to invest in a new business idea. If I've already built up some savings, I can take a shot on it without worrying that one bad outcome will wipe me out. Someone who barely has any money saved just doesn't have that option. If you're still grinding toward that first $100,000, there are a few practical ways to move things along faster. Since most of that first $100,000 is going to come straight out of your own pocket, the key is boosting how much you're able to save. That's honestly the fastest way to speed things up. And to save more consistently, you usually need to make more money coming in. That might mean picking up a second job on the weekends or working a couple extra nights during the week, then sending that extra cash straight into savings. Another option is starting a small side hustle that brings in additional income. At the same time, you've got to be mindful about wasting money on stuff you don't really need. Ask yourself honestly, do you really want to spend $100 on a random dinner out, or would you rather save that for special occasions and put more money toward your goal? Just remember, being this strict with your spending isn't forever. It's temporary just until you hit your target, and then you can relax a bit. Also, try to avoid huge car payments for vehicles you don't actually need. Those kinds of expenses are one of the main reasons people never even reach $100,000, let alone $1 million. Once saving and investing becomes part of your routine, it's much easier to keep doing it. By the time you've built up a solid amount of money, you'll already be used to finding ways to earn extra income and funnel it into savings. You'll also naturally think more carefully before buying things, asking yourself whether they're truly necessary or if you'd feel better putting that money to work instead. On top of that, you'll be more comfortable dealing with investment risk through different market ups and downs, and you may even learn how to benefit from those cycles. According to a famous investor I once heard named Warren Buffett, once you finally hit that $100,000 mark, you can ease off the gas a little. The next big goal is usually the first million, but getting there is much easier because most of the growth comes from compound interest instead of just your own hard-earned contributions. So the next time you're stressed about how slow your net worth feels like it's growing, remember this: it gets easier, more enjoyable, and a whole lot more rewarding as time goes on.